Hey, hey, and welcome back to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I am your man, J.P., and even though I uploaded a video yesterday of Halloween Havoc 1994, I've got some time right now. I just finished watching, again, Halloween Havoc 95, so we're going to talk about this thing. So, 95, the matches themselves were fine, but there's just all kinds of other stuff going on here that's just, I don't know. It's just nuts, and I think it was all because Kevin Sullivan. A lot of it was like his ideas and stuff, and they've got this whole Dungeon of Doom thing happening, and just cheesy stuff. You know, like there was this big storyline going on with Hulk Hogan and the Giant, and the Dungeon of Doom, where Kevin Sullivan, or the Taskmaster, and he's got the Master that sits on this big stone throne. He's got his face all made up, looks like kind of like a half-dead, weird, like Buddha, like dead zombie Buddha-looking guy. I don't know. And he sits on his throne with a bunch of fog around him, going, "My son, we will end Hulkamania. My son Kamala and my son Ming and the Zodiac and all these weird characters," and it was just a bunch of weird stuff. But anyway, Detroit, Michigan, Joe Louis Arena. I forget the date on this, but nevertheless, opening match is actually pretty good. WCW TV title match. Diamond Dallas Page is here. He's the television champion. He started off as a manager in WCW, managing the Diamond Stud. But here he is with his wife, Kimberly, and Max Muscle, this powerlifter guy that would follow him to the ring, and his opponent, Johnny B. Bad. And in this match, thanks to an accidental, cheap shot of Max Muscle, accidentally nailed Diamond Dallas Page, Johnny B. Bad able to capitalize and win the television championship. So, yippee. And then the next one, the Zodiac, also known as Brutus the Barber Beefcake, also known as the Butcher, also known as the Booty Man, Ed Leslie, whatever, in one of his stupidest gimmicks ever, versus the Macho Man. It wasn't a very long match. Thankfully, the Macho Man won, but yeah, I'm not sure what the Zodiac was supposed to be. I don't know. But he was part of the Dungeon of Doom. So then we had another single match. It was a return match. It was a Japanese wrestler managed by Colonel Robert Parker. Kurosawa? I don't know. But his opponent was Road Warrior Hawk. And right here, Hawk is just in WCW just as a singles wrestler. Animal is not here. Animal is elsewhere. I believe Animal was in Japan, wrestling with another Japanese wrestler as like the new Road Warriors or something. I don't know, but Hawk is here. But Hawk loses this match. Kurosawa wins because of interference by Colonel Robert Parker. So, and then we had another singles match. It was JL. Purple, dressed in purple, luchador type guy with a mask on. His opponent, ECW legend Sabu, managed by his uncle, the original Sheik. This match was pretty good, but in the end, Sabu was victorious. Sabu, also known for being like kind of a daredevil, doing backflips into steel chairs and barbed wire and stuff, but there was none of that in this match. Sabu just won cleanly. So then we had a stupid Dungeon of Doom segment where it was like that guy was talking about with that fat goatee, dead Buddha-looking guy with Taskmaster sitting beside him or standing beside him, and he's just "My son, tonight we beat we beat Hulkamania for good." stupid, I don't know, it's crazy, stupid stuff. And then we had Ming versus Lex Luger. And Lex Luger wins that match by DQ. Now the stipulation was that if Macho Man wins his match and Lex Luger won his match, then the two of them would wrestle later on in the evening. So both of them win, so they would wrestle later on. But then we had an interesting match. Supposed to be a tag team match. Arn Anderson and Flying Brian Pillman versus Sting and Ric Flair. Well, Ric Flair wasn't there. He had been attacked by Arn Anderson and Pillman early on in the match. So it was started off just as a handicap match. Double A and Pillman versus Sting. So throughout the whole match, Sting has to carry the load by himself. Then Ric Flair shows up with a bandage on his head, takes his shirt off, and he stands in the corner ready for a tag. But Sting can't make a tag. He's getting beat down. Finally, at the end of the match, Sting finally makes a tag. Ric Flair immediately attacks Sting. So he turns his back on Sting, reforms the Four Horsemen, and, you know, that's kind of a WCW thing. So then this next thing we got to talk about, because it was just, I don't know. I think Eric Bischoff was trying to develop a relationship between Monster Jam and WCW, because this next match is a monster truck sumo match. So the Giant was in one truck, Hulk Hogan was in another truck. They were welded together front to end, and they were like trying to push each other on top of Cobo Arena in Detroit, and like whoever can push the other one out of the circle wins. Eventually Hulk Hogan won this, but then they get out of the truck. The Giant sort of attacks Hulk Hogan. The Giant ends up on the edge of the top of Cobo Arena, and Hulk Hogan like fights him off, but Giant falls off the top of Cobo Arena to the ground below. And so Hulk Hogan's like, oh no, oh no, help. So then he goes, he runs and tries to find help. Apparently the Giant fell to his death, but not really. Oh no, the Giant's too tough for that. Because right after this match, we have Lex Luger versus the Macho Man. And because of interference from Jimmy Hart, Macho Man won by pinfall, dropped the elbow. So we don't know why Jimmy Hart was there. Well, actually we do. We find out later on. And then we have the world title match. Hulk Hogan versus the Giant. Oh, look, the Giant comes out. He's fine. He's totally fine. I guess he's so tough. He's so much of a bad guy, or a bad ace, that jumping or falling off the top of a 6-story arena, he's fine. You know, he's so tough, he just got up and shook it off. You know, he just walked it off. The Hulk Hogan versus the Giant. The Giant wins by disqualification because the Yeti. This guy dressed in a mummy outfit that they call the Yeti comes in from behind Hogan. So the Yeti and the Giant sort of sandwich Hogan in, and they start, well, for lack of a better term, they look like they're sort of dry humping Hulk Hogan. And so Macho Man comes down to try to fight him off, but, you know, then Lex Luger comes in, and now he's on Jimmy Hart's side. So now Lex Luger joins the Dungeon of Doom. So him and the Giant and the Yeti, they beat down Sting and Hogan. So then the Giant wins the match by disqualification, but that means Hogan keeps the belt. So the Giant walks away with the belt with the Yeti and Lex Luger and Jimmy Hart, and then Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. You know, they stumble, you know, back to the locker room area. So that was 1995 Halloween Havoc. It was not the best. Like I said, the matches themselves were fine. I have no issues with the matches themselves, except for maybe the stupid Monster Truck Sumo match. I mean, I understand why they were kind of doing this, just because they were trying to, they had wrestling themed monster trucks and they were trying to promote the monster truck relationship, but this was just silly stuff. But And interesting also is that for this event, Hulk Hogan was dressed in black. And he wasn't even Hollywood Hogan yet. He was just Hulk Hogan, but, you know, Taskmaster and the Dungeon of Doom forced Hogan to go into the dark side and channel his dark side. So Hulk Hogan was dressed all in black. He had sort of the Hollywood Hogan, like white lightning bolt, black tights on. But he wasn't Hollywood Hogan. He was just Hulk Hogan dressed in black. And they had shaved off his iconic mustache. I think the real reason why he did that is because he was filming a movie. And I believe the movie was Secret Agent Club. So, I don't know. But anyway, that's the 95 Halloween Havoc. It was silly. It was ridiculous. But what are you going to do? So that is going to do it for this video. Join me next time where I'm going to try to include 96 and 97 together. And so if you're new, feel free to like and subscribe. And I will see you next time.